So how many of you have had a car? You know, it's wonderful to have a relationship with one's car, almost to the point where we start naming the car, right? So your Basanti, doesn't the Basanti make you feel awesome on the road? Now, how many of you have sold a car? Can we please have a show of hands again? All right, so that's about 60% of the audience. Have you ever wondered what happens to this car, the Basanti that you so love, when it reaches its end of life? Let me tell you something. It's not very appealing that it ends up in a scrapyard. While most of the metal and the other reusable parts are removed from the car, 20% of the car still remains unrecyclable and essentially gets hauled to the landfill as automotive shredder residue, which includes all glass, foam, and rubber parts, along with the car seat belts. So with the new vehicle scrapping policy taking effect in India, by 2025, we are going to have a monumental load of 3 million cars ready to be scrapped. That means a minimum of 12 million car seat belts are going to enter the landfills all over the country. And if reports are to be believed, India is not going to go all electric before 2050. So what happens in this time between 2025 and 2050? Obviously, there's no way to kind of imagine what happens. So we took help from AI-powered art generators to come up with some visualizations of what Indian cities, main Indian cities, would look like. Let's have a look. Bengaluru looks like an image out of Zion, from the Matrix. Mumbai seems like half of Mumbai has been swallowed by the sea, which is in fact almost a reality. Every monsoon, it's literally drowned in seawater. Delhi remains fogged out, so that's kudos to Delhi, living up to its reputation. We've got Chennai looking like a digital panopticon. It's literally like a cage, We were at Infosys campus yesterday, not to be confused with what you're seeing on your screen. Hyderabad, teeming with underground energy, lots of hacking happening, lots of, different kinds of events, electronica coming out of Hyderabad. Then we've got Kolkata. Looks like still in conflict. So rampant climate change and environmental degradation have already made Delhi a gas chamber, has already swallowed half of Mumbai. If this is the way that things are going to pan out for us, I'm 100% sure by 2050 our cities are going to be unlivable. So the idea is not to scare you here. The idea is to present an opportunity. So in the problem lies the solution. Car seatbelts bring a really unique perspective to the whole topic of sustainability. There are 3 aspects to the car seatbelt that make it a really interesting circular material that can be reused. And first and foremost is that if they were ever burned, they release toxic gases like mercury, furans, BCPs, all of which add to the GHG emissions, and we know what happens, that kind of leads to rampant climate change. Seat belts, as we know, are lifesavers. Not everybody likes to wear them, but 1 meter of car seat belt length can hold up to 2,100 kilograms of weight. So that kind of lends itself very nicely, the physicality of the material is such that it is suited to become an outside material for various applications. And the fact that it's suitable for second life applications brings us to the topic of second life of seatbelts. So let's look at what the current reuse of seatbelts looks like, especially in the consumer goods sector. So we've got hammocks in the adventure and camping category that are being made out of car seatbelts. We've got cushions that are being made out of car seatbelts. Then we've got furniture, lots of chairs, sofa sets, really unique minimalistic aesthetic. Then we've got pet beds, can you imagine? Made out of car seat belts. Fashion, of course, is also not completely untouched by the reuse of car seat belts. This is, or at least what seems like an unsurmountable problem, our organization has found a solution for. And this experience that we had in the sustainable architecture space in Auroville in the late 1990s, combined with the design experience in New York in the mid 2000s, all have added to this dialectical solution that we bring to the fore. And but before we do that, how many of you have watched Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara? All right, almost the entire crowd. Do you remember the one scene with a $12,000 bag sitting next to Farhan Akhtar on the back seat?
क्या हालत बना दी तूने इसकी यार?
Dude, first of all, be thankful कि मैंने तेरे लिए 12,000 यूरोस का बैग खरीदा.
What? ओए, दिखा दिखा दिखा. 12,000 यूरोस इस पर्स के लिए?
What are you doing?
बेचारी को गर्मी लग रही है.
बेचारी?
कबीरा, मीट bagwati.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what you saw on screen is Bhagavati, but this right here is Bactivism. And what is Bactivism, you might ask? It's essentially Bags plus activism equals to impact, social impact, environmental impact, and last but not the least, fiscal impact. So what is it that we're trying to do here with Bactivism is essentially take waste as our fodder, as raw material for new value chains, create circular jobs for the bottom of the pyramid communities, and come up with products that spark joy for the green consumer. So how do we do this? Like mentioned earlier, this is a dialectical solution where we are taking waste in a process called design out of waste methodology that lends itself very nicely to industrial waste materials, to the aviation industry, to the automobile industry, to the craft sector. The sector-wise applications are immense. So we've created this framework called Bactivism, and we mentioned that it has this threefold impact. So now just have a look at some of the social impact potential of this framework. So meet Sushma Sunny Topo. She lost her job. Her father lost his job in Jharkhand as a farmer, because of which she ended up quitting school and moving to Delhi to be able to support the family. It's circa 2016 when, through a common connection, Sunny is introduced to Team Jaggery. And although she's unskilled at that time, she doesn't necessarily have the language skills also, but she has the enthusiasm and the sort of the glimmer of hope in her eyes. And that's enough for us, as a DNA match, starting off as a startup, to find a good fit. So we offer her a position. We start training her to clean, sort, and sanitize the seatbelt material and prep it for the following steps in the design out of waste methodology. Cut to present times, Sushma has been in the industry with us, with Jaggery for 6 years, and she has developed the confidence to not only do the job that's asked of her, but also taken the liberty in her free time to design products out of these materials. So we've managed to capture her imagination at that subliminal level that she thinks about her work even after her work hours, right? And because of that, she's been able to generate a minimum, 10 to 12,000 rupee per month income, which in the context of modern city lives, it's not that much. But if you put it into perspective and think about her family situation where they're really not earning anything, that really helps a lot. So while there's significant social impact to be made using this framework, there's also considerable environmental impact that lends itself very naturally. It's not a byproduct. It's actually one of the formative kind of impacts. So since our conception in 2015, we've been able to divert enough waste from the landfills of Delhi NCR that actually add up to the size of a small blue whale family. So there's literally around 520 tons. And this is, it's just it's kind of like a starting number. We've just gotten started on our journey. We've also been able to plant 2 trees for every product that has been enabled by the framework. And on an average, there's about 0.75 liters of water usage per product that we bring to life. And this has amounted to over 200,000 liters of water conservation. So this is just a cross-sectional view, the social impact potential. If you look at the village that Sunny comes from, Pakur district, with a population of about 60,000 odd people, and you look at the ST population, then you look at the number of workers that are available, it literally boils down to something like 50,000 female workers that are available in Pakur district itself. So if you were to take that as a template and apply that to different districts, talukas, around the country, you can imagine the potential that this has in creative capacity building and in the creative remanufacturing sector. Now we've looked at the social environmental impact. We're looking at the visual end product of this entire process. So we've got some eco-modernist products that often have been labeled as avant-garde, because they kind of have this aesthetic that hasn't necessarily been a part of the Indian design ethos, given our crafts and the colors that we have. So this minimalistic European aesthetic isn't something that we take to naturally. It's kind of like a sort of an acquired taste. So we've got the Marlini tote here, we've got a Fausto rucksack, we've got the agent of change, slim laptop bag, and finally the day tripper, before we get to the real conversation starter, which is the freelancer's bag. So this has, on the front panel, something which is a relic of a car, right? So if you have your Basanti and you want to retain a little bit of your Basanti, this is perhaps an interesting way to kind of combine, personal interests and product design. So you could take the car seatbelt buckle and put that up on the front panel. So now it's really been an overwhelming experience. When I asked you to participate in the 2 questions, more than 60% of you raised your hands. And if you were to go by industry standards, 30% is essentially what it takes to create a transformation. So this obviously is a delightful feeling. I'm 100% sure we are in good hands. And in conclusion, I'd just like to reiterate some of the points that I've made earlier. And the fact that the seatbelt as automotive shredder residue remains a very unutilized material. It sort of passes under the radar as well. No policies around ASR as of now. So this must be leveraged to be reimagined and given a new avatar so that it can create spark for the end consumer and also create circular jobs in the country. Thank you.